My name is Feng-Feng Yeh, and it's fun like you're having fun twice. And I am the creator and brainchild of the Tucson Chinese Chorizo Festival. It's really laborious to create the chorizo.
You know, bringing out all the best in every single ingredient, and then you bring it all together, making sure the grind is right, making sure the fat ratio is right, and you're just like, wow, this is why it's so worth it to go through all these steps.
The Chinese chorizo is an actual historic sausage that was made here in Tucson. So it's specific to this city, and it was developed in Chinese grocery stores that were all located here on Tucson's south side and in the barrios. It was a really important place where they spoke Spanish, they spoke indigenous languages, and they really catered to their community. I was surprised to hear that most Tucsonans don't know about this story. I think it's just like a good symbol because they used end cuts, like meat that was gonna go to spoil, things that were gonna be destined for the trash, and they transformed it into a product that was in high demand.
So you have a pig that you're cutting up and you have all these trimmings, and what are you gonna do with it? It's not a perfect round steak, so you have these little chunks. And that's the cool thing about sausage. It might be just this little link, but there's so much history behind it.
And I think it's a nice metaphor for kind of the struggle that these people went through to kind of build a life in America because they didn't have such a great experience. When you're a person of color or a person of mixed race in America, it's really hard to kind of like place your identity. And today there's only like about 3% of the population is Asian. And growing up, I was like one of the few. And so I kind of thought about that time all through school that I felt really like, you know, alone and alienated. And I was thinking like, what would I want at that age? And I was like, okay, what if I do something for the like little fun-funs that are out there and that want to see their identity reflected in the culture? And, you know, we were just named Tucson City of Gastronomy. And I wondered why, like as a food person, I was like, why, if we had such a presence in the past with Chinese culture, why are we not talking about that?
You know, Fun was just like, hey, I heard about you, I know what you do, I think you're the perfect guy to help us out, will you please help? And I was like, absolutely. Yeah.
We're producing everything here at Forbes Meat Company with sustainable and ethical meats, and bringing modernity to this recipe was also offering the vegan plant-based version just because I wanted the story and the food to be really accessible. At the end here, I think we're gonna be a little under 600 pounds of chorizo because there's 20 different restaurants participating in this festival, and we are giving each restaurant, you know, 15 pounds of the pork and 15 pounds of the mushroom. Everyone seems to be really just so excited for this, and the really cool part of this project is that it interjects something new and fun for chefs and restaurants and for their customers to experience. And I've been loving the kind of very intentional execution done by these incredible chefs that we have here in Tucson. There's a branding that I use for the festival and for the project, and it's called Ask How the Sausage Gets Made. And I don't know, I just remember the references of like Upton Sinclair's, like, the jungle and like how immigrant life was and how actually meat production really is. And you don't want to see that or know that because it takes away from like your experience at the end. And I think that that's a really important thing to kind of like pay attention to. But also, if you ignore how things are made and where they come from, you miss a lot of beautiful stories. You miss the humanity of things and why things came to be.
Food kind of was something that tied them all together, and working together, not just with their ingredients, but with the local Hispanic culture, and just bringing that symbiotic relationship between all cultures.
Why not like renovate our narrative too, and like let's bring back this story, because this story actually helps Tucson to get where it is today economically and culturally.
It's about what the mission of this project is, and that's, I think, what's cool with our community. It wasn't about each individual, it was about what we can do for one another.
I felt really touched because a lot of people, came up to me, and said, "Oh, I'm Mexican and Chinese. I'm a product of this, and like, thank you for seeing me." It's just really nice to kind of like tick off my mission and say like, okay, yeah, these people are being seen. Like, that's all that we're looking for, I think, is some sort of validation.